All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to Soul of the SKOL. Today we are back with some more good football talk. Sam Z is not on yet again for unknown reasons today. Last week he forgot. Today he just said I'm not going to be on. And we actually do have a fourth member. It's Big Lou with a fresh cut, ladies and gentlemen. Take a peek.
Yep.
Hit him up. He's available.
360.
Wisconsin Eau Claire, his dorm.
A fresh cut.
He does not go to Eau Claire.
No.
Stout.
Yeah, you just said Eau Claire.
I know. I forget once you said it was wrong. But
Eau Claire is a half hour that way, I think. No.
Wow. Big
No, it's
Lou,
up.
just
It's straight in front of you.
we're gonna know.
Yeah,
where
that
it
way.
is.
That way.
let's move on before we keep embarrassing ourselves.
Good point. So we have got some good football to talk about yet again here today. We are going to kick it off with something we've never done before. Last week, our video actually did surprisingly well. A lot of people clicked on it. There was a lot of engagement. So with that said, I have it up right here. We are going to roll through some of the comments, see what people think. So if there's anyone watching this right now, you can feel free to comment and we'll read your comment probably, as long as it's not bad. We'll probably read it.
Yeah.
So we'll start right here. The title was, "Are the Vikings the worst team in the NFC North?" It was kind of clickbait, but also not at the same time. But that's what draws people in. First comment says, "I'll answer that only after their 5th Super Bowl loss."
We might be waiting a few years for that to happen.
A few decades, maybe.
If they even
Yeah,
make
fair.
a Super Bowl, we'd be lucky. So then we got Ryan up in here to the question of, are the Vikings the worst team in the NFC North? He says, not even close. Our starting quarterback got injured. We would have been much more competitive if Kirk wouldn't have gone down.
That's
I
fair.
mean, he's right.
I agree with that, but I think we were more talking about the future, not this past season. So, But yeah, he makes it. That's a valid point, and
No, that is 100.
That's 100%.
That's been the kind of talking point throughout the fan base ever since Kirk did get hurt. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's right that they would have been better with Kirk Cousins. But I mean, sometimes when I think about these kind of things, people blame failures on injuries. But A, part of the job is to work around injuries. B, every team has injuries. You're never going to have a perfect season where everything goes your way. That's just how it's going to be. So, I mean, he's right, definitely. So, thanks for that one. I think we have someone that, oh, never mind. I thought there was someone that argued with me, but not
There
quite.
was one.
I thought there was.
Hold on.
Wait, there's got to be.
Yeah, that's
Hold
only
on.
6 of them.
Oh, yeah, there it is. All right, we're going to get to that one last. Doc here says, no, it's the Bears, but 3rd out of 4 in your division is not where you want to be. Yeah.
I mean,
I agree with that, but the NFC North is going to be a very competitive division here, especially with the Packers. They did very good this postseason, and they started to kick it off at the end. The Lions are doing phenomenal, and the Bears with the number 1 overall draft, who knows where they're going to be next year. And the Vikings are coming up with a decent. So I would not be surprised if we see 2 to 3 of the NFC North in the playoffs consistently for the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, for me, getting 2nd is cool. Getting 3rd is not wonderful. Getting 4th is even worse because what I'm looking for is championships, and I know everyone else is too. So, yeah, we'll see what steps they take to get there. If they take a step back or if they go all in, whatever. We got Ryan. We already read his. Trucker Will says, what's going on, guys? Not much. What's going on with you, man? Larry says, yes. Bite me. Wow. Love the username. Also says yes. And we already did that one. Last one. This is the one I was looking for. John says, yes, the Vikings are worse because the Wilfs didn't have the courage to pick a GM that wanted to blow it up instead picked a company man bean counter who never played football. I think that beginning next year, they will be the bottom of the division for the foreseeable future. I'll say John seems like my kind of a guy. Me and him just agree.
I hate this take. I hate it so much. And I hate because there's a lot of people that are saying this. And I mean, when you look at hiring a GM, Kwesi's obviously an analytical guy. He said that. He's been saying that. But, I mean, we're in year 2 of Kwesi. Like, he's hardly done any – like, last offseason was really the first offseason where he started making moves and wanting to construct the team the way he wants to. And we're in year 2. Your quarterback just got hurt. You were dealing with injuries all season. It seemed like everyone was injured at one point. And if you're like – if you wanted them to hire a GM who was going to blow it up, that's a fair argument. I would disagree with it still. But I just think when it comes to a GM and Kwesi especially, you can't judge him off of 2 years. I mean, even the draft, like, you have a right to be worried about guys like Lewis Seen or Andrew Booth from the first draft class, but especially this most recent draft class, they were just in year 1. You can't really judge them yet. Even his first draft class isn't fully judgeable. We've seen guys come on later in their careers and guys take time to develop. Jordan Love, just look at him. He's sat behind Rodgers for 3 years. There have been dudes that do that all over the league. So I don't think it's on the GM just yet. Now, if this offseason gets sketchy and they don't take care of things that need to be taken care of, like the quarterback situation and the edge situation, I firmly believe then, yes, maybe after next season's a disaster. If it is, then yeah, you can start looking into firing Kwesi and KOC.
Yeah, I'll say this here. I mean, John's comment here is pretty harsh, but the overall consensus of it, I'll say I agree with. I agree with the premise of it, because he's talking. Obviously, it's a clear shot at Ryan Poles, who the Bears hired because he was a finalist for the Vikings job, but then the Bears jumped on it, took Poles, so the Vikings' kind of only choice was Kwesi at that point. So I think it'll be easier for us to make an opinion on this once we see how the Bears do. We'll say 2 years from now, because then we'll see their blow it up, get draft compensation, be bad for now, but we'll see how it goes in the future with a bunch of cap space. We'll see how that plan works. But I mean, the Vikings are, to me, they're stuck in the middle. They're meh. They are what they are. So I'll say this. I would have liked to see them hire Ryan Poles just because I wanted to see something different. It would have been cool. Even if it didn't work, to me, that's okay, because at least you tried something out of your comfort zone, and that's what the Wilfs aren't willing to do, because this is a business where, as an owner, you want to see your team have success, but really, money does matter, and you make money by being a relevant team every year, and that's what the Vikings have been. They've been relevant, but they haven't been outstanding. So I think it would have been really interesting to see Ryan Poles, and we'll see here. And in a couple years, we can have this debate again on, was it the right choice to go with Kwesi, or should they have pounced on Poles or stuff? So that's a little of my thoughts, but I'm the resident hater of the show, so I'm obligated to say that. And I'll bring it back to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think the Vikings were in a situation to blow it all up yet. You're coming off, what was it, that 2021 season? I can't remember did you go 8-8, 7-9, something like that, or 7-8-9, I think their record was. And, while it was pretty clear it was time for a change, I mean, everyone in Minnesota saw that. Zimmer was just not going to work out. He was getting old. It's pretty much time for him to retire. He hasn't yet. He's still like a quality control guy for Colorado, I think, with Dion. But I think it was time for a change. It's not like this team was going through a super rough patch and Spielman had just blown the entire thing up, and this, whatever they were trying to do, it exploded in their faces. But I still think bringing in Kwesi, he has harped on this competitive rebuild, and I think that's what he's doing right now. That's what he's going to continue to do, and that's part of the reason I think Kirk Cousins will be back next year. And while you look at what Kwesi's trying to do, I mean, the vision is really kind of starting to take form here. We'll learn a lot more about it this offseason, I think, because he has big decisions to make with guys. But I mean, I think it was just time for a change, and the Vikings still could compete. We saw that last year. I think that team, while they did overachieve, they had success and made the playoffs. So I don't think it was really time to blow it up, but that's just my opinion. And I've heard it from I've heard great arguments from people who think they should blow it up. So there's all kinds of different ways to do it, want to do it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's good. I mean, there's good reasoning both ways. And now I'm gonna approach an idea. I want to see if you guys have any thoughts on this. So Kwesi and Kevin both, when they both were hired 2 years ago, now they both signed 4-year deals, which is pretty standard for a coach and GM, unless you're Matt Rule. Wasn't Matt Rule's like 8 years or something ridiculous?
No,
that was a ridiculous contract. That's the one thing I remember about it. But so I just looked up. They're both on 4, or I don't know if they both are. Kwesi's for sure on 4, so I'm assuming Kevin would be
yeah,
2.
I think yes.
Because it would make sense if they're the same. What if the Vikings seem to like Kevin O'Connell a lot? I mean, there's really no reason not to at this point, I'll say. What if the Vikings give Kevin O'Connell an extension, but they don't to Kwesi and bring in a new GM to pair with him?
I think Kwesi and KOC are a package deal. I mean, at least now and in the near future, they are. I think if one goes, they both go. Now, if Kevin O'Connell's showing he's becoming one of the best coaches in the NFL, which, I mean, he's probably middle of the pack right now. If he's showing that and Kwesi isn't doing what he needs to do as GM, then maybe you could see it. But I think for the near future, at least, I think they're a package deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I personally like where Kevin O'Connell is and would love to see him stay in Minnesota as long as he keeps doing a good job. But I think the team really rallies around him and do really like him as a coaching staff. You can kind of see it in his post-game speeches there in the locker room there. It seems like the guys really like him as a head coach. And there's especially after the wins, there's a fire and energy in that locker room. And even Kevin O'Connell distributed that to his team too. So I like that of him.
Mm-hmm. So really interesting. Kind of unlikely that would happen, that they get rid of one and not the other, but
Yeah.
You never know. It's an idea that could happen. So that pretty much does it, unless anyone else has any thoughts on the comments that we've received. Again, if anyone else wants to leave a comment, feel free. You can drop it in the live chat, or otherwise you can just drop it on the video, and we'll look at them before next week, and we'll address them on next week if we happen to have any comments. So any last thoughts on those, or keep going? All right. So with that said, we are going to keep going, ladies and gentlemen. So the off season is a time of fun, in my opinion. For some football fans, it's boring because there's not much to have, I shouldn't say that. It's boring. There's no games being played, whatever. But to a football fan that follows between the lines, sometimes I find the off season almost more fun than the actual season, just because of all the possibilities of this player could go here, or this coach could go here, or all the draft scenarios and free agency and off-season phases and stuff. I think it's a lot of fun. So with that said, we are going to be taking a look at something that happens every year, and it's also the title of this video. We are going to take a ride on the coaching carousel. So with that said, I will share, I guess, to here. So there were 8 openings in total, I believe. Is that, anyone remember?
Yep.
So yeah, there were 8 openings, and 3 have been filled, so that would leave 5 still open. Teams could still part ways with their coach, or their coach could step down. It's not over yet, but in the main bulk has happened. So we'll just have to see. Go ahead.
8, to those listening, 8 might not seem like enough, but you got to think that's a quarter of the league, which is just crazy to me, that 25% of the league is replacing their head coaches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so with that said, the 8 teams that had openings I have on our spreadsheet: Carolina, the Chargers, Vegas, Washington, Atlanta, Tennessee, Seattle, New England. So 3 of those spots have been filled. The Raiders hired Antonio Pierce, which I think pretty much every football fan can agree seems like a good hire.
Yeah.
They played significantly better after he became the interim, after they gave the boot to Josh McDaniels this year.
Yeah.
So good one there. New England Patriots hired but kind of promoted Jared Mayo. I believe it's Jared. Is it Jared? Is that his pronunciation?
I think it's Gerard.
Gerard.
Yeah, Gerard.
I've wondered that before, what it is. So they have promoted him. I mean, technically they hired him, but pretty much promoted him. He was the linebackers coach. He's been around the organization a long time. Standout linebacker when he used to play. Grew up a little bit watching him, but he was kind of toward the end of his career is kind of when I started becoming a fan because it's kind of a while ago now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll just have to see. The Patriots are kind of a mess right now, and they don't have a GM, but I don't know what they're going to do about that since Bill Belichick was the equivalent of the GM. So I don't know if they're going to hire someone or if they're just going to
I think you have
what
to.
they're going to do.
I think you have to hire a GM. I think Gerard and the coaching staff are going to help them find a good GM, but
They should. Yeah, it's just so much easier if you.
And yeah, Bill Belichick's the best coach of all time, pretty much. So, I mean, it makes sense that he was gonna be the GM too.
So the Tennessee Titans fired Mike Vrabel, which was a surprising move, and they have hired Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan. Personally, I don't know a whole lot about him other than the Bengals have been pretty good offense with Joe Burrow and Jamar and whatnot. But as far as specific things on him, I don't know a whole lot, so can't speak. So I guess I don't know if it's a good hire or not. I'd say probably. But
I like it.
We'll see. I'm assuming. Oh, it said he's been in Cincy since 2019. That was when Joe Burrow was drafted, correct? 19.
Around that time, maybe a year.
So he probably
earlier.
helped develop Joe Burrow. So maybe he can help develop Will Levis or other QB to be determined that whoever the Titans decide is going to be their future.
Will Levis
It makes sense. Whatever happened to Malik Willis? Is he just gone?
Not really given a fair shot. He's kind of been injured and just, I don't know. There's been people ahead of him.
So now we've got 5 openings as of right now. The Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, Chargers, Seattle, and the Commanders. So we can kind of look through here, just look at the different names, see maybe speculation, who is most likely there, what would make most sense for them, and stuff like that. So the Falcons got rid of Arthur Smith in an unsurprising move. I didn't like his mustache. It was ugly. We were talking about mustaches before we started recording.
I didn't like his coaching either. I don't think anyone did.
Bingo.
So bad mustache, bad coaching, and now he's without a job for now. I've seen that a lot of teams are interested in hiring him for offensive coordinator, though, potentially. So
makes sense.
Bill Belichick is the kind of number one candidate there, but I saw that over the past week, the Falcons have lost a bit of steam with Belichick, but we'll just have to see. I still think it makes sense, but
I honestly thought Belichick was just going to retire, so I'm kind of surprised he's still looking for a job, which, I mean, I guess that's not super surprising, but I figured he'd just kind of say, hey, I'm done, hang it up.
Well, how old is he? 70?
He's getting old.
71.
70s?
Or something like that.
He's about as old as Nick Saban, so around 70, 71.
I thought that either Bill Belichick would just take a year off and then see what's up next year, or he would just become a defensive coordinator somewhere and just
I feel like
have a lesser role.
Belichick is a head coach or he's retiring. I don't think he would be a coordinator.
I think Belichick. I just thought Belichick was. I predicted. So I made predictions for all these, and I predicted the Falcons would hire Raheem Morris. So I don't know how good that's looking right now, but
have they?
I guess it sounds like Belichick's losing steam, and Jim Harbaugh was scheduled for a second interview with the Falcons, but they since canceled that, so he's not actually getting a second interview. So who knows what's going to happen? But yeah, I predicted Raheem Morris. I don't know how much. This is one of the jobs I didn't really know a ton about.
So we did talk some about this last week because there's been kind of scuttlebutt and speculation about Kirk Cousins to the Niners, but not to the Niners, to the Falcons. But that's a whole separate topic that we kind of talked about last week. But I just think so. We did talk a little about Bill Belichick too. I think it just makes sense. Bill Belichick is in his 70s. Their owner Arthur Blank's in his 80s. They're going to be looking for a Super Bowl, and their roster has a lot of talent, which is what New England didn't have. They had nobody. So I could see them hiring Bill Belichick and going all in to win a Super Bowl. both for Bill and for the owner. It does make sense.
Yeah.
So.
And Bill Belichick won't be a part of a rebuild. He's like Jim Harbaugh. He's not going to try and he's not going to rebuild the Falcons. He wants to win now. Wherever he goes. He goes to the Falcons, he goes wherever. He wants to win now.
So as we keep going, the Panthers, they hired Frank Reich. That was a
disaster.
Whatever you want to call it. It was a disaster. They went 1-10. I thought that they were just going to rebuild, so I didn't think it was that big of a deal. They were 1-10, and then they fired him, and I was like, okay, guess they are trying to actually win games. So then Chris Tabor became the interim, and I mean, they were just simply a bad team this year. So I don't know who would go there.
I predicted Mike McDonald. I think Carolina's such a rough job. Like, I think it's genuinely going to be a tough job to bring Carolina back because they were very bad. And I don't think any of these top candidates like Ben Johnson or Bobby Slowick are going to want to, or Dan Quinn are going to want to go to Carolina. So while Mike McDonald has had a super good rise, I know Mike McDonald really well. I know Mike McDonald as a coach really well. He was Michigan's defensive coordinator in 2021. He's been with the Ravens ever since. And I think he's a head coaching candidate, but I don't think he's at the top of the top of head coaching candidates. So I just predicted him to go to Carolina. But I mean, I could see any of these guys outside of like Dan Quinn or Ben Johnson or Bobby Slowick. But outside of that, I could see any of these guys.
It almost makes most sense, though, wouldn't you think, for the Panthers to hire an offensive guy with Bryce Young?
Well, that's why they did that with Frank Wright, and obviously that didn't work out.
They've hired 2 offensive guys now. Bryce Young, you hire him, and then maybe try to find a good coordinator or something, or get a good quarterback coach in there.
Yeah, I like going with the defensive side. I feel like if Dan Quinn wants to be a head coach and Carolina was like the only option, or like, because Carolina has a fairly decent defense. It's just offense is terrible.
They're kind of a mess.
So it's a guy who's going to bring culture and who's going to change it, kind of like what Dan Campbell did with Detroit in 3 years. Who's going to be the culture changing guy?
Yeah.
Who are you going to rally around? Who's the team going to rally around?
Yeah, if I'm them, I'm taking a risk. If I'm the Panthers, I'm taking a risk. And who knows what that could mean? Maybe it's hiring Chris Tabor. I mean, I don't know. Maybe bringing in a guy like Dan Quinn. I don't know.
So would we consider Bryce Young to be a running quarterback? Or is he just a mobile quarterback?
Yeah, a little bit.
He played more in the pocket at Bama.
Okay.
He was more of a pocket guy. He was really good at Alabama.
Well, obviously, Carolina has such a terrible O-line. He kind of has to run around and try to make things happen. I think if he was settled down more in the pocket, it's where damage is going to be done. That's how he won a Heisman.
Because
he's more of a quarterback that can run. He's not a running quarterback.
He just chooses not to. It's kind of a last resort type thing.
Okay. Here's why I asked that. 2 names. Right here and right here.
I would
think about it.
I would love to see him hire Bobby Slowick. But again, I think Slowick's going to get a better job. I think he's going to end up in I don't know, maybe Tennessee. Well, actually, no, Tennessee's hired someone. I predicted Slowick to Tennessee. I think he's either going to go to maybe Washington or something like that. Maybe not Washington. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Or he'll just return as the Texans OC because he's relatively young still.
And the Texans OC spot is still a nice gig too.
Yeah. With that young team.
Bobby Slowick is 36. So he's got plenty of time ahead of him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he's young.
If he wants to land a better job, maybe next coaching carousel there will be a better job for him. But
I thought the Titans would hire him just because help them develop Levis, get someone like that for him. But that obviously didn't happen. And Brian Callahan is solid. I like that hire a lot.
Mm-hmm. So with that said, we keep looking down. The Los Angeles Chargers. Sam O is quite familiar with this because of the name of someone. Where is he on here? There he is. Mr. Jim Harbaugh. There's been so much Jim Harbaugh to Chargers steam. I mean, going back a while now.
Yeah. So right now,
anyway, it won't happen.
Like I said, if Jim Harbaugh, like I said with the Falcons, they are doing a second interview now. I just saw that today. I haven't looked more into that yet. I probably will later. But he's not going to the Falcons. And right now it is either the Chargers or he's staying at Michigan. And I can tell you from what has been talked about inside the Michigan program and what's being talked about over there, no one knows. Like literally no one knows anything. So, there goes Matt.
Matt.
But yeah, no one knows anything. So I think I think they've already offered him the job, but I think it's either Harbaugh. If it's for the Chargers' sake, it's if Harbaugh's their first option, and if Harbaugh is gone, then maybe you go Mike Vrabel or something like that.
I don't see his name on here, so maybe it's not a two-way street. But I've been seeing around Twitter Pete Carroll. Apparently, either Pete Carroll has I think that's right. I think Pete Carroll has interest in the Chargers job, and it's not the other way around. But that was interesting to see. Either way, I mean, Jim Harbaugh makes sense just because that stuff has been going back so long. But I just thought that was interesting to see that maybe Pete Carroll had interest.
Again, it's another team that can win now. You have a stud at quarterback in Justin Herbert, and so one of these older guys is probably going to end up taking that job. If it's not Jim Harbaugh, you could see Dan Quinn or Mike Vrabel or Pete Carroll or maybe even Bill Belichick take it. So I think they're going to hire someone like that.
No matter what, I mean, they kind of can't go wrong. They got lots of options.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that. The Seattle Seahawks, Pete Carroll is out. And now we look at their options here. So I could almost see them. Oh man, like all their guys are OCs. I was gonna say I could see them going the other way toward the defense because they don't have a quarterback to develop. I mean, I don't know how old Geno Smith is, but I mean he's been around a while now.
Yeah,
he's 33.
Yeah, he's been getting old, but he's gonna continue to be the starter there. I think.
Well,
maybe they go quarterback in the draft, but I think he's gonna be the starter still. I predicted Dan Quinn.
It makes sense. I know there's been a lot of connecting of the dots between Dan Quinn and Seattle. I guess I don't know the specifics of why. Maybe whoever their owners are might have connections to him or other people in the front office. That's most likely to be the case. So I guess I don't know for sure, but yeah, I could see that happening. But they don't really have a quarterback to develop because they're kind of in a like some of these other ones. They're kind of in the middle, but they're leaning more toward a win now. Like they're still a decent team, so they won't rebuild. So whatever. The Washington Commanders, they got rid of Ron Rivera. Should have done it a long time ago, but they didn't. So we look around. Man, I feel like they'd go with a defensive guy, but I guess I don't know that. What was Ron Rivera? What was his specialty?
I think he was defensive, but I'm not positive on that. I can't remember.
Well, I'll see if I can. He was. I don't know if he still is, but he might be. Well, he's defensive because it says. Yeah. I just looked up Ron Rivera, and it says he is interviewing with the Eagles for their DC spot.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I thought he was defensive. I just remembered that.
I saw something else really interesting. So, as is probably publicly known, since I'm the hater of the show, I'm a fan of SKOL North. They did a show, I don't know if it was yesterday or a couple days ago. I listened to it, and it was really interesting. Now, this is like pretty far-fetched, but it kind of makes sense. They said, what if Kirk Cousins went to the Washington Commanders? And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense because they don't have the same owners anymore. Yeah. So the entire front office is completely different. They still probably obviously know people since Kirk played there for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And they have the most cap space of any team in the NFL. And they have the number 2 overall pick. So they could take Marvin Harrison Jr. to pair with Kirk Cousins. And it's pretty unlikely that would happen, but
Or
that's
do
an interesting thought, though.
Or do the Commanders go shopping for someone like Wilson, where they get him for cheap and then take the second pick, have someone train under Wilson for a year, and then start him?
I'd almost think if they had the second pick, though, you almost got to start him right away. Like, if you're in the top 5, that's kind of not necessarily.
I think the 2 quarterbacks that you could start right away and feel good about in this draft are Drake May and Caleb Williams, and they could very easily go 1 and 2. But I mean, I think those are the only 2 guys that I'd really be fine starting day 1 with. But yeah, I think Kirk to the Commanders, if he leaves, that's kind of what we're in right now. Is the if Kirk Cousins leaves, where would he go? So I could see him going to the Commanders. I could see him going to the Falcons. Those are the 2 that really. Yeah.
So I'd put Vikings at number 1 for like most likely teams for him to be on next year. I'm going to put Vikings at 1. I'm still going to put Falcons at 2, and I'd put Commanders at 3. Because if you think about it, though, I mean, it's unlikely, again, that these 2 scenarios would happen, but it makes sense if you connect the dots. There's reason to believe in it. So that's that. Also, Big Lou, I just got an email from a dude from the U.S. Army and Army Reserve about career opportunities. Sorry to that guy. I'm not interested. Just figured I should.
Why not?
You know, I got other stuff here. I got other plans. Also, the Twins added a player. I just
saw that too.
ESPN. So they actually made a move for once. So that's that. Now, with that said, we can probably kind of just move into picks and predictions and stuff.
One thing we should do. I know Joel's a Twins fan too, but Joe Mauer got inducted to the Hall of Fame yesterday. So
that was absolutely massive. I was super excited because I don't know. All my dad's friends didn't think he was going to be a Hall of Famer, and my dad bet like with all of them, and he made like $100. So that was cool.
Mm-hmm. Good for him. Also, remind me, not Sam. Oh, you're not gonna know this, but Big Lou, we should ask Sam Z about the fantasy football league and money and stuff. I should remember at some point to ask him about that.
We put money in that?
Yeah, it was $20 a person in the SOS football league.
Oh, I completely missed that.
And then I have
I thought it was just the punishment. But we'll talk about this more later.
Yeah, we can after we're done here. So, with that said, I think we can go into the other stuff. Is that accurate? We think we can?
Sounds good.
All right, so we're going to do that, and then we'll throw up the predictions page, and there it is. All righty, so here is our predictions. So we've all got our 3. Sam Z doesn't because he never does. And yes, so we'll just start. We'll go around, see what's come off the board, and we'll unveil our new ones and go from there. So I said at least 3 divisional games would be decided by 8 points or less. It looked bad after the Ravens game, but then the final 3 were decided by 8 or less. So that was correct. I said the Ravens, Niners, Lions, and Bills, which were my real game picks, would win this weekend. It was correct until the Bills lost. What a game that was. That was a great game. That was good football.
Missed field goal.
That was some good football to watch. I mean, that whole game was just closeness and
that's honestly what I love so much about playoff football is it's always like it's always good teams, obviously. So it's always like super good football.
Yeah, I was gonna say blowouts are so rare, so it's almost always gonna be a good game.
Mm-hmm. Especially when it's like the Bills and the Chiefs.
Back when the Chiefs were in the midst of a speed bump during the middle of the season, I said they wouldn't reach the AFC Championship, and they did for the 6th time in a row, all under Patrick Mahomes. They probably made it the year before, too. Under Alex Smith, I bet, too.
Which, that is just crazy to me.
Yeah.
I've seen, like, a bunch of stats going around, like, from the NFL and, like, Instagram and stuff. It's just, like, he has more postseason touchdowns than a lot of franchises, and it's just the stats are absurd.
It's like he's a good player, but then January rolls around and he's just better, and that's crazy. Yeah. So, yeah. Next, Sam Z had nothing because he wasn't on last week, and he didn't make any for today. Big Lou,
I'll do
your own.
All right. So for my first one here, I did between the two games, there will be 5 or less turnovers this week. I believe it'll be a very, not that many turnovers, but, who knows where this is going to go. So,
Big Lou, you can also read off what came off the board too.
oh,
You
yeah,
wanna
I'll
do
do that.
Oh, that's just mine.
So I thought the Packers were going to lose by more than 10 points. Turns out they almost won. So,
I
yeah.
thought it'd be a close game,
Yeah.
and it was.
It was a very close game. Chiefs will have at least 4 drops. I do not know how many they had.
I don't either, but in all I was watching, I saw 0 drops. So they probably had less than
Okay.
4. Bills had a
and
couple,
then
though.
total points scored in the divisional round will be at least 200. It was 196. If the Bills would have made that field goal, I would have been fine because I would have had to get at least one more score after that. But no.
Yeah. Soon we're about to get to Sam O. He had another terrible beat, too, that we're going to get to. He's just the king of having terrible beats on here. But first we got Matt. He said Sam Z would have the best winning percentage in game picks, and he did officially clinch that this past week. Josh Allen would have at least 2 turnovers. I don't think had any.
I think he had 1 interception.
Okay, I was going to say, I remember there was the fumble in the end zone, but that was KC. Other than that, were there really any turnovers?
I thought there's
There
a
might have
late
been an
game
interception.
Josh Allen interception.
So I mean, people can hate on Josh Allen for not winning in the playoffs, but he overall, at least to my eyes, played a pretty good game still. So whatever. He also said Christian McCaffrey would have at least 175 rushing and receiving yards. He had like 120 approximately, somewhere around that. Seemed
Josh Allen did not have an interception.
Okay. The McCaffrey one seemed like a given just looking at him this season, but yeah, he only had like 120 or something, so not quite. Also, you can dispute me for taking the second one off the board, but the logical dots say it's wrong for multiple reasons. By the way, I'm talking about Sam O here. So you want to do your own?
No, can you do them for me?
I would, or you want me to read these though?
Oh, I'll go. I can go over the first 2 ones that were read. Yeah, so I said the Lions and Bucks game would be decided by less than 8 points, and it was decided by 7.
Or no, yeah, you said it'd be decided by less than 8. It was decided by 8.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Because the 2-point conversion.
That's right. And the Bucks went for 2 in the dumbest possible way. I absolutely hate going for 2 and you don't have to. But I mean, I kind of get why they did it, but I still disagree with the decision, for the sake of my prediction and even just in general. I also said Mike McCarthy or Nick Sirianni will be fired, but not both of them. Neither of them were fired, and I believe both GMs committed to Nick and Mike, so I don't think so. They're not going to be gone. You can get to my first prediction though.
Okay, I was just going to say, so pretty much this is how it went. Mike McCarthy, there was the report that he was coming back, so he was safe. There's been no real report that Sirianni's coming back, but they met with him last Friday. There's report he met with the owner, so you'd figured if he was fired, there'd be news after that, and there wasn't. And then they fired their DC, Sean Desai, and the report said Sirianni's the one that made the decision. So to me, that means he's coming back.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know what, I guess, interesting the Cowboys did that, but the Eagles aren't going to go out and say Nick Sirianni is going to be back, because that means that they're openly admitting his job was in jeopardy. So they're probably not gonna. So yeah. You just kind of have to connect the dots to figure that one out. All right, I got you. Here we go. There's your first one.
My first prediction is Jared Goff will turn the ball over 2+ times versus the Niners. Not only do the Niners have the best defense, well, I don't know if it's statistically the best, but they have easily one of the best defenses in football. Jared Goff has been playing too good in this playoffs for him to not have a game where he has like 2-3 turnovers. And I think it's going to, and I'm rooting for the Lions as much as anybody. I know a lot of Vikings fans have been hating on the Lions, not wanting them to do well. But when there's a team like us, like the Lions or the Browns or something that finally has some success and makes a run in the playoffs, I'm happy for them. and especially a team that's never won a Super Bowl and a team that won its first playoff game in 30 years 2 weeks ago. I'm rooting for him, but I just think Jared Goff has played too good recently for him to not have a game like this. And against the 49ers, it's going to be tough.
Sam, my first and third predictions are both disagreeing with that today.
No. Well, I guess we'll have a little prediction war or something.
I want the Lions to do successful. I really like Jared Goff, so I really want them to be good. I just don't like all their fans. It's the whole Matt Stafford deal. That was its own thing.
Well, that was horrible.
I did not like that.
Yeah.
And then the whole deal this week with the biting kneecaps. Yeah, that's a bit disrespectful if you ask me, but
the sign.
Yeah. So
and then that's partially on the NFL for posting it on their Twitter. Fans make signs like that all the time, and posting that on just the NFL posting it on Twitter isn't really a good idea.
I should say, I'm not happy with the fan that did it, but I should say I'm probably more mad that the NFL glorified it by putting it. It was on TV.
You shouldn't be giving something like that attention.
It was on TV. I'm sure they didn't understand the meaning of it, when they put it out, but now it makes sense. But so outside of those two instances, I really do want the Lions to be successful because they deserve it and their fans deserve it. Outside of those, so that's that. So I'll go back here. My first one, I said the touchback fumble through the end zone rule will be changed this offseason. We saw it in full display in Buffalo when they played KC this weekend, and since it was in such a high leverage game, that means it's going to happen. So in their owners' meetings in March, the competition committee will bring this up. The owners will vote on it, and it'll be voted to be changed. Probably back to where the spot of the fumble was, but we'll see. To me, that would be the fairest thing to do.
Well, yeah. How many teams lost the game because of that? The Vikings lost the game because that. The Bills probably lost that game because of that rule.
I think there was another time this year. I think there were 3 different instances.
It happens. It happens, I feel like, at least 4 or 5 times every year. And, this year it happened in that big of a game. I feel like it's going to get changed. I don't really understand the whole point of the rule and how it's helps the game or if there's a loophole through it. That's something I'll probably look into this offseason.
I mean, the rule makes sense. It's just dumb.
Yeah,
it's unfair if you ask me.
It does. If you ask me, it should not be considered a touchback and brought to 25. I think at most it should be the 5-yard line. Just to give them a little bit of a breathing room. That would make more sense to me. Because then your defense still has a decent chance of stopping them, but they also get the ball and have the chance to bring it over. So, but
I mean, I think we've probably talked about this on here before. Any fumble that moves forward and is recovered by the offense or batted out of bounds or something like that, maybe it is like this outside of the touchback part, it should just go back to the spot where it was fumbled. That's just the most fair, if you ask me. But maybe they do that, but obviously not for the fumble through the end zone. But if it gets batted out of bounds or something, I don't know if it goes back to the spot where it was fumbled or if it goes to where it went out of bounds. That part, I guess I can't say I know, but it would make the most sense to do that. Yeah. All right. Big Lou, you're up again.
I'll do my second one here. In these 2 games this week, there will be over 200 yards of penalties given out.
Big Lou's getting innovative with his predictions. I like these. This is fun.
I do too.
See, they're different and they're kind of fun ones.
Yeah. I like it. So we'll see here.
Just given the fact that these are going to be high state games, I think there's going to be a couple chippy penalties like there were last weekend. I would not be surprised if we saw a couple unsportsmanlike conducts or unnecessary roughness in there, but we'll see.
Now I'll head to Matt since I didn't do his. So I'll just take off his first 2 since I didn't last time. He says A.J. Brown will be traded this offseason. Honestly, how much would a team be willing to give up for him? Because he seems like a locker room cancer at this point. So I wouldn't personally. I would not trade for him.
Not even a 7th rounder.
I've seen what I needed to see. I don't need to take my chance. He's a great player. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL for a lot of the year. But, I mean, he's just a locker room killer in my mind, so I would not take a chance on him. His second prediction was that the Chiefs will score on a trick play against Baltimore. Probably.
I mean, it's not uncommon for the Chiefs to do that, especially in this big of a game.
Mm-hmm. So that'll be a good one. You want me to do it again?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, shoot, what'd I do? There we go.
Lamar Jackson will throw for 250 plus yards, rush for 75 plus yards, and account for 3+ touchdowns in this game. I was going to add that, but I ran out of room. But it's
That's
in the
okay.
AFC Championship game.
Wonderful prediction.
Pretty confident in the Ravens in this game. I think they're the best team in football right now, so I'm pretty confident, and I think Lamar is going to have another good game.
Mm-hmm. 3-item parlay. Always got to love those.
Get that into Prize Picks or something. I don't know.
All right, since we were kind of out of order there, my second prediction is that both games this weekend will be decided by 8 points or less. I kind of made that same one last week. I said at least 3 would be by 8 points or less. This weekend, both will be. I mean, they both ought to be close games.
Yeah, these are going to be
for the top teams in the NFL.
Maybe a bit of a check down, but I still like it.
Okay. How about this? We're going to go 5. 5.5 is a weird number, but when field goals and stuff happen, scoring gets weird.
Yeah.
We're going to say both games will be decided by 5 or less.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's a little bit better one. All right. So for my final prediction, we need a little bit of background. I believe it is 0-16 teams that have beat Kirk Cousins and made it to the Super Bowl. My prediction is the Cousins curse will not be broken this year. So that means the 49ers will not make it to the Super Bowl.
That's bold.
Because every single year, if Kirk Cousins beats a team, they never make it to the Super Bowl. They don't even play in the Super Bowl. The Packers lost Kirk Cousins, did they?
Yeah.
The same game he got injured.
That counts. That counts.
Yeah. And they're eliminated. The only one left in there is the 49ers. And based on how they've been playing, almost losing to the Packers, and how the Lions have been playing, I don't think they got it.
Wow. Wonderful. That'll be a good game. I mean, all of them are just good games. All right, I'll finish off Matt here. He says Usher's first song during the halftime show will be Yeah. Pretty sure that song came out the year I was born. Same year
I
Big
don't
Lou was
listen to
born.
Usher. I don't really listen to any of Usher's stuff. So
I think that's the only song from Usher I've heard.
You've probably heard more. You just don't know it.
Maybe, but that's the only one that I'd recognize or know the name of.
Does he still make? Anyone know if he even still makes music, like new music, or is he just kind of out of the hip hop realm now? I don't know, but he used to have some bops back in the day. He used to jam to some Usher sometimes.
Oh, I guess he's got DJ's Got Us Falling in Love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Oh, he had a single come out in 2023.
Oh,
yeah, a lot of those guys though they were big, and now a lot of guys come big, they still release music today. It's just not popular.
That's like Chris Brown. If Chris Brown still makes music, he's fallen off. Let's see if there's any other super relevant Usher songs you might know.
I was just looking on Spotify, and that's
not necessarily. I don't know how many of these you know. I know OMG. I don't know if you know that one though.
Oh, I know of that one.
I don't know. I'll look through this other album. This one's got some. DJ Fall in Love. Oh, Somebody to Love with Justin Bieber. I forgot about that song. All right,
I don't know if I've heard that song.
I just need somebody to love.
Oh yeah.
I don't know any of the words other than that. But apparently that's Usher too. All right, we'll go with Matt's final prediction, his fourth and final prediction. He made a bonus one. Sam Z will not get his game picks in on time this week.
I think if he doesn't get him in on time, you just give him 2 reds.
Oh, so yeah, we're gonna keep that thought in mind because we're gonna talk about that in a little bit here.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna remind him. Usually in our group chat, I'll tell him, "Yo, get your game picks in." This time I'm not gonna, since he made a prediction about it. In all fairness, I'm not gonna remind him. He's got.
In all
he's just gonna do
fairness,
it.
though, we should give him a heads up that if he doesn't get him in the red though before we decide that. But
Yeah,
I mean that kind of contradicts with that pick then, because then if we kind of give Sam a heads up, we should have given him one before the episode. But
So we'll see. We'll talk about this again in a moment here, and you'll see why. All right, Sam O, his third and final. I'll unveil.
Dalvin Cook will score a touchdown for the Ravens in the AFC Championship game.
I like that pick.
I have no knowledge behind this. For all I know, he could not get a single carry, but I needed a third prediction, and I couldn't think of one. So this was the first one that came to mind. I have no background, no History of Dalvin Cook running against the Ravens or any reports about Dalvin getting more workload. I don't know. Going with my gut. Hopefully he scores. That'd be cool.
I saw that this past week's game. His first carry with the Ravens went for 20 yards, and that was more than any carry he had with the Jets all season.
Well, that makes sense. He got just buried on that depth chart.
Yeah.
Sucks for Dalvin, but.
So, yeah, good predictions there. I think I still have one more. Yeah, I do. I said Dan Campbell, Lions head coach, will be emotional while addressing the media or players after Sunday's game. Doesn't really matter if they win or lose.
Yeah.
He's going to either have tears or you're going to be able to tell in his voice he's emotional. He's just an emotional guy, but that's kind of part of why I like him is he cares a lot about the game and his players. So, yeah. Whether it's, I don't know if every team does the post-game locker room speech and publishes it, or if that's kind of just a Vikings
I think
thing.
Almost every team does it.
Okay, well, either way, there will be evidence, or I'll watch back his press conference, and he will be emotional following it. So
Probably.
That's our predictions. If we look over here, here's our standings. Sam Z is in the lead still at about 42%, followed by Matt at 33%. I'm just a shade under him. Sam O is just a shade under me, and Big Lou at a quarter of his correct.
I have successfully gotten last place this year. I don't think there's any way that I can get out of last place.
Someone else would have to be pretty bad to catch up with you.
Exactly.
Also, here's a note. The season ends on February 14th. The first episode we'll have after the Super Bowl. So these numbers will become finalized on that day. Everything that's on the board will remain on the board. It just will count toward next season or any other subsequent seasons. So keep that in mind. Also, here's our game picks. This is how it went last week. Sam Z had 2 right. Big Lou had 3. I had 2. I also had some kind of dumb picks because I went opposite of him. Matt and Sam O got all 4 right. First time ever we've had a full green week, but it was only 4 games. So
yeah,
someday we're going to have everyone get them all right. It's going to happen. If we
Super Bowl.
Yeah. If we look up here at standings, Sam Z's in the lead. He actually clinched the title, so he has won this season. No, I am in second, and I cannot catch up to him. So I'm at 61.3. Big Lou is only 1 game behind me. And then he's followed by Matt, who's right behind him, and Sam O down there. I wrote here, remember to propose rule for next year. This is what I'm thinking. If a person does not have their picks in by kickoff, they're all red.
Yep.
You have all week to do it, and you didn't do
Love
it.
Yep.
All red. Come on. So I won't do that for obviously this year because that'd be unfair since we haven't talked about it yet. Yeah. But I did put a little note here. I think on the next episode all of us are on, I'm going to remember that. We should just make a list of different potential rule changes we can do of things that would make it more fair. And I think that's one of them. If their picks aren't in, they're red.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that. Because not that Samzy did this, but you could cheat by doing that. If you just didn't put your picks in and you're way in the lead, then there's kind of no way anyone can catch up. So whatever. We'll go down here, take a look at ours. We only got 2 games. There we are. Chiefs and Ravens, and then Lions and Niners. Could have some controversy here. To kick us off, the AFC Championship. 3 are going Baltimore. Matt is going KC. I could see this game going either way.
Honestly, yeah.
I would take. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm pretty confident in the Ravens, but I don't know. I just you cannot doubt Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And
That's
Yeah,
what
I
was
think-
gonna say.
I think we all want the Ravens, especially because we don't want the unnamed someone at the Super Bowl too. But
Mhm. My roommate the other day, I had the Chiefs and Bills game on, and he said, "Wouldn't it just make so much sense for the NFL to have her as the halftime show like next year for the Super Bowl?" And I was like, "Dude, that does make so much sense. They would get so much marketing and money off that."
if the Chiefs made it to the Super Bowl, or if everyone believes in the scripted, have the Chiefs make the Super Bowl and her be the halftime show, you know how many views that would get?
It would break the internet if that happened.
It would. But
So that does make a lot of sense now that we've talked about it. But yeah, I mean, the
Watch
Ravens
the-
are. Sorry.
watch the Chiefs make the Super Bowl, and then the NFL was like, "Oh, we're changing the halftime show to her."
Slap in the face to Usher.
Yeah, you get it next year.
So, I mean, Baltimore is the best team in the NFL. Like, I mean, they just simply are. But if there's anyone that's going to beat him, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes.
yeah,
So this game could go either way, even though Baltimore still has the slight edge. But if anyone's going to win, it's going to be Mahomes. That's going to beat the Ravens versus anyone else. Even if the Bills would have won last week, I don't think they would have beat the Ravens.
No.
So we'll see. Lions and Niners, we'll see what people think here. All right, we got 2 going Detroit, 2 going San Francisco. Good one here. I went Detroit for a couple of reasons. One, I mean, the Lions have proven to me all year they've banded together, and it's pretty much them against the city of Detroit versus everyone else. 2 is that Deebo Samuel might not play this game, and that would be a huge dent to that San Francisco
big.
offense.
that is
If he
really
didn't.
big.
Yeah,
So,
I think too. It just seems like the Niners haven't been playing up to their full potential lately. Like they almost lost to the Packers. Was in a 1-score game before that they almost lost to. I don't remember who it was to, but just seems like they're not doing so hot.
I think the Niners will come to play, figure it out, be at
bless you,
home,
Big Lou.
Thank you.
and go ahead, and I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. So my
So,
prediction:
I think
Ravens, Niners.
I'd like to go Niners, but I mean, their win last week just wasn't convincing enough to me to
Well,
be able
that's-
to.
If
To be able to
If
choose them.
Deebo plays, I think it's
Yeah, I think he might be the deciding factor of the game, whether he's playing or not.
Yeah.
And I mean, Brock Purdy didn't play. I wasn't really watching that game, the Niner Packer game. I wasn't really watching, so I guess I don't know. This is just what other people said. Is that Brock Purdy didn't? I mean, he was pretty bad, but I mean, he was still good enough to lead his team.
I
to
didn't
win
think Purdy
the
was that
conference championship.
bad. I think he had an interception, but other than that, I mean, he was making throws, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I liked what Purdy did.
So yeah, so we'll see. There now, I already showed it, but I'll show it one more time to close it out. That is our game picks percentage. Sam Z has won, and so everyone else is just kind of fighting for relevancy at this point. And yeah, I'll remember to do this next year. Talk about Reds if you don't put it in, because I think that would be a good thing. So that does it. I think for this, we don't really have anything else. So unless anyone has any closing thoughts, we can close this one out.
Oh.
Really excited though for Sunday's games.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
2 great games.
It's one of the best weekends of the year for NFL football.
Mhm.
So just enjoy it.
I do got one thing. T-Webs, Tyler Weber, he always comments a pink dinosaur face on all of our lives. I got to give him that. I got to say thanks for watching, Tyler.
So I'm good buddies with him. And so I have the Twitch app. He streams sometimes on Twitch. So I'll see if he's live right now. Oh, he is. He's live on Twitch. So if anyone's watching, wants to check him out, T-Webs.
Hey.
Right there. I don't know if you can read it. TWEBS. That's him on Twitch right now.
I know he usually watches and he always comments that pink dinosaur face.
So I bet odds are that he has this up on one of his computers right now. Probably just because I'm good buddies with him and it gives us watch time. So we don't dispute that. We like it. Even if people don't watch, we still appreciate it. So thanks for that. So everybody go watch his stream. Support him now.
Yeah,
But I think that pretty much does it for this. We got good football on the docket for Sunday. Otherwise, that does it. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you guys again next Wednesday for some more good football talk. As far as the topic, we don't quite know yet, but we'll see. Maybe there will be some breaking NFL news by then, but we'll see. Otherwise, we will see you guys next Wednesday. Have a good night. Peace out. And as always, SKOL Vikings.